Welcome to the EPG Pathshala course on public administration. Today, as part of the first course on public administration, I am discussing about the new public administration topic. I am Professor Y. Parthasarathi, Head Department of Public Policy and Public Administration, Central University of Jammu, Jammu. Friends, in the previous lessons, you might have studied the changes in the evolution of theory of public administration. In the evolution of the theory of public administration, we started with Woodrow Wilson, F.W. Taylor, Elton Mayo, and etc. As part of these continuity of the evolution, you are also going to learn about the concept of new public administration. Today, we are going to learn about what is new public administration and about what are the conferences of the new public administration, what are the important thematic discussions has taken place in the new public administration. New public administration so far had 3 conferences. They call them as Minno-Brook Conference. This Minno-Brook Conference 1 in 1968, Minno-Brook Conference 2 in 1988, Minno-Brook Conference 3 in 2008. It means for every 20 years, there is one conference of the new public administration is taking place. Then a question arises for you. What is this Minno-Brook? Then what is new public administration? Minno-Brook is a place in the New York City. It is near a small lake. There is a Minno-Brook Conference place. There they conducted the conference of the new public administration. Hence, we are calling it as a Minno-Brook Conference 1, Minno-Brook Conference 2, Minno-Brook Conference 3. Now, what is Minno-Brook Conference 1? That is New Public Administration 1. Minno-Brook 1 or New Public Administration 1 is related to Dwight Waldo, Frank Marini. These are the 2 people are important in explaining, defining, conducting the conference of the new public administration. Actually, why this type of conference has taken place? What are the reasons for it? This is one of the important happening. In the United States, at the time, that is in 1968, there was a discussion between politics administration dichotomy, Simon's behavioralism, and later, which is right, which is wrong. Then Dwight Waldo identified one of the important area is that he wants to conduct a conference of the young public administrators. Before of that, what are the reasons for that is, there is a lot of dissatisfaction among the practitioners about the discipline of public administration. This is the reason number 1. There was a people are expecting why the universities and the Department of Public Administration is not showing the solution for the various issues of the society. Then the mainstream public administration occupied various issues of administrative theory, of the management and the principles and the objectives of the maximizing of the economy, efficiency and etc. But there is a young generations are dissatisfied with this type of a thing. In the 1960s, in the whole decade, the young generations are saying the public administration has to be more active, responsive to the needs, responsive to the problems of the society and the citizens. And before of that, there were the 2 important landmarks were taken place in the United States of America. Number 1, they called, there is a Honey Report of the 1967 for the higher education for public administration. Number 2, they called the Philadelphia Conference on the Theory and Practice of Public Administration. That is in 1967. So there were these 2 conferences. One is the Honey Report on Higher Education. Another is the Philadelphia Conference on the Theory and Practice of the Public Administration. These are the 2 major conferences has brought whatever the dissatisfaction of the young people has taken place and dissatisfaction of the practitioners are taking place on the study of the public administration. So hence, the Minno-Brook Conference of the 1968 was conducted by, and it is not directly conducted by the Dwight Waldo, it was conducted by the Frank Marini with the help of the university at the time. Then You can review whenever you say that. If you want to further go to that, there were three important contributions are there to read about new public administration. One is Toward a New Public Administration by Frank Marini. Another is Public Administration in a Time of Turbulence by the Dwight Faldo. And the third is the New Public Administration 1980 by the George Frederickson. These are the three important books also there. Actually whatever the important issues raised at the time, which has come the part of it. And now, what is the first Minno-Brook Conference and its spirit? One, how to question the authority. The basic issue is how to question the authority, asking why our field why it is not going to study the basic issues, questioning the field of public administration. And the participants of the Minno-Brook, whoever it is there, they were asked to, actually the youngsters were asked to write one note. It is going to be, it's circulated to the Dwight Faldo and others. After reviewing that, they called the young public administrators. They were called as Minnos. At the time, they were called as Minnos. Altogether, there are 34 scholars attended this conference in the public administration first. So, the new public administration stands for four important aspects. These are whenever in the discussions and the books and the conference aspects are there, they call it is different from the understanding of the public administration from the existing perception. It put more emphasis on the normative approach in place of the value-free approach. So there were four goals and three anti-goals of the new public administration. So new public administration identified the four goals and three anti-goals of the new public administration. In order to achieve the goals, these authors like that Frank Marini and the Frederickson, they have put four solutions which have been referred as the 4Ds. What are the four goals? We'll see first. Number one, New Public Administration 1 talks about change. What is change? One, it was stated that in eagerness to perform the status quo activities of the state, from the status quo-ness to activeness. In the status quo-ness, the questions of change are not considered. So whatever existing, it has to go as it is. Law and order, as it is, you have to go. Working of a particular system of a university or some other thing, it will go as it is. This is called weakest status quo. But new public administration questioned this status quo-ness of it. Even they say that the whole public administration discuss about the Weberian model of the bureaucratic system, which based on status quo-ness. Whether the written documents or impersonal order of the Weberian model talks, they talk about the status quo-ness. But new public administration states that the public administration should be change-oriented. Change-oriented response to the socio and economic and political changes. What is the change? Change was because a society is not a static. Society is changing, economic systems are changing, political systems are changing, people habits are changing, their demands are changing, they are asking for the more and more things. So all these are impacting on society. So the public administration has to react towards the changes which are occurring in the society. This is the first important aspect they talk. And to react towards the changes, we require an organizational flexibility and also the adaptability in the administrative systems. So the inbuilt administrative system, which is actually working for the status quo system, has to be changed towards the adaptability, towards the operational flexibility. So this is what they call about the first important goal is change. Then they talk about the second important aspect is relevance. So the relevance is every society is having a different set of problems. The relevance means if you take about the new public administration, if you take about in India, India is having a different set of problems. And America is having a different set of problems. There is a problem of blacks, there is a problem of unemployment of a different order, there is a problem of a governments between the two different type of state government, central government, federal things. There are problems. In India, we have a different type of problems. We have a problems of poverty, we have a problems of impact of urbanization and migration. So each and every society is having a different set of problems. Therefore, public administration should consider only country specific. It is not a universal public administration. It should be a country specific, area specific, cultural specific. The problem and ethnocentric changes are only the social relevant changes. The changes should be country specific, area specific, cultural specific, ethnocentric specific. So, the first time the new public administration raised one of the important and fundamental point is that public administration should be country specific, because each and every country is having its own problems. Then people should see the changes as relevant, meaning thereby that the changes should be specific to the needs of area and the needs of the people. Earlier approaches to the new public administration considered relevance and rationality from the viewpoint of the administrators alone. The previous public administration has seen it's from the administrators alone, the administrative systems alone. But whereas the new public administration sees, we have to see the people. Previously the people were neglected. People were not taken consideration, now it has to be taken there. So, new public administration 1 suggests that inclusion of a rationality of the people 2 in the process of policy formulation. This is about the second goal. Third goal they call about equity, fairness and justice. New public administration found social equity as the most common vehicle for guiding human development. Social equity, all people equal, because all constitutions are saying that, whether it's American Constitution, Indian Constitution. But in the process of the development, in the process of the advancement, some people are developed, some people are advanced, but some people are marginalized and separated. But here in the society, new public administration talks, for the public administration, social equity is the most common vehicle for guiding for the human development. Social equity means administrators should become champions of the underprivileged sections of the society. The distributive justice and the goal of equality should be public administration's basic concern. It means, so-called we are talking about the value free of public administration. Public administration is a neutral according to the Weberian systems. But whereas new public administration says public administrators should take care of the underprivileged sections of the society. Rules has to be framed for that. The distributive justice and goal of equality should be public administrators' basic concern. A public administration system which fails to work for the changes and fails to redress the grievances of the minorities, other sections of the society, is likely to be eventually used to suppress those sections. Hence, the goal of administration should be bring about social equity, fairness, justice, thereby promoting harmony and integration in the society. So, the first time the new public administration conference identified the equity, fairness and justice of the all sections of the society, and the public administration is not just a value free, it is actually based on working for the common man and neglected people, marginalized sections of the society. Then the fourth goal is values. So as we said, the first is change, second is relevance, third is equity, fairness and justice, and the fourth one is values. To achieve all the above objectives, 1 and 2 and 3, that is called change, relevance, fairness, equity, fairness and justice, we have to have the ideology and philosophy of public administration should be changed. In our eagerness to make public administration scientific and rational, we adhere to the concepts of the value freeness and rationality. This must be changed. So the administrative system should be value oriented so that it is going to be committed for the social problems and various sections of the society. So the commitment of ideology and ideology of the state. Again, so for example, we take about Indian government. Indian government ideology and philosophy we draw from the Constitution of India. We draw from the various public policies from the India. All are meant for the welfare of the people. Then the public administration value also the same. It openly rejected the value neutral position. The neutrality, the bureaucratic is a neutral, administration is a neutral. This type of a value neutrality question is not going to be there. So we are going, public administrative system should be value oriented, that there is a committed to ideology and philosophy of the state. These are the 4 important goals set by the new public administration. 1 are M-03 Conference 1. 1, change, relevance, equity, fairness and justice. 3rd is values. At the same time, new public administration advocates 3 anti-goals in its literature. So it is called as anti-positivist. What are they? Number 1, anti-goals of the new public administration is rejecting the definition of public administration as a value free. The public administration should be value oriented. This is number 1. Number 2, rejecting the rationalist and perhaps deterministic view of humankind, since human behavior is quite unpredictable. Public administration studies should focus on what administration should become instead of what administration should be. So the important aspect is here in the second important, rejecting the previous approach. Public administration focus what should become rather than what should be. We have to have a vision, we have to understand, we have to have some goal. Third, it rejected the politics administration dichotomy, because we all the time talk about when public administration is there, Wilsonian's administration, politics administration dichotomy, Goodno's politics administration dichotomy, where politics and administration is completely separate. This is what we talk politics and administration dichotomy. New public administration 1 has rejected this idea of the politics administration dichotomy. They say that this dichotomy takes administration away from the values. Now the overall focus of the new public administration movement seems to make administration to be less generic, more public, less descriptive, more prescriptive, less institution oriented, more client oriented, less neutral, more normative, but it should be no less scientific all the same. So ultimately, new public administration 1 concentrated on public administration from the administration to public. What is the main value, main relevance, main point of a change? It has to go for the public. Public is most important. Less descriptive, more prescriptive. Less generic, more public. Less institution orientation to more client oriented. Less neutral to more normative, and also the scientific. These are the important aspects of the first M-03 Conference of the Public Administration held in 1968. This is about, whenever we talk about the new public administration 1, we are going to talk about the M-03 2, which has taken place in the month of September 1988. So the second M-03 conference was held in the same place of the M-03 after the 20 years. That is, the first one was in 1968 and the second one was in 1988. It was held on the 4th of September, and this conference actually was held where there is a lot of changes are taking place in the American social and political system. 1, majorly the government is withdrawing from the various welfare programs. 2, the government is depend on the more on contracting out. 3, the government is depending on more on third party activities. And 4th, government started supporting about the, even at the policy level and others level, with the NGOs and the social organizations and etc. etc. There's a lot of changes has taking place in the government sector of the United States of America. In that backdrop, the conference of the 1988 of the new public administration was taken place on the 4th of September. So this increasing role of the non-state actors to the government system, which was one of the important one, because the public administration so far talks about the importance of state, importance of the government and their authority, the Weberian model of administration and organizational structures. From this point of view, the state itself is withdrawing from the various activities and giving away for the non-state actors and third-party things and contracting outs, which are creating about a different type of tensions in the society, among the youth and etc., is one of the important aspect, which the second Minno-Brook conference was taken place. And this was taken by the George Frederickson. The second Minno-Brook conference actually was held by the George Frederickson. He conducted this conference at the same place. Now, one of the important aspects is here. They concentrated about the 5 important issues. The issue number 1 is the ethics, 2, social equity, 3, human relations, 4, reconciling public administration and democracy, and generic concern of the academic field. These are the 5 important areas of the Minno-Brook 2. One thing is very clear. Whenever you compare with the Minno-Brook 1 and Minno-Brook 3, Minno-Brook 2 was not much attractive towards for the academics and also other people. Another important aspect was the people who attended the conference, they are not from the public administration alone. They have taken from public policy, they are from history, they were from sociology, they were from psychology, they were from urban economics, etc. A different type of people attended the Minno-Brook conference too. And this conference divided the themes into leadership, constitutional and legal perspectives, technology policy, and the economic perspectives. These are the 4 that the whole conference is divided into 4 important thematic groups of that. Now, what are the important areas of discussion taking place in the Minno-Brook 2? Number 1, these conference papers are advocated a strong consensus about democratic values, ethics, accountability, and leadership in public administration, and centrality of public administration to promote these values. So slowly we have to see, if you're reading about this, the Minno-Brook 2, which actually come out of the Minno-Brook 1 and departed from that to another aspect of it. Second, the debate between the normative and behavioralistic perspective has not diminished. The discussion of the various issues of field emphasize how to get anticipated objectives in public administration. As Peter Guy states that as a field, public administration is still in disagreement about how to get there. So the basic issue of the important aspect of Minno-Brook 2 is concerned, they are unable to come to a clear-cut conclusion where the discipline has to go from where to where. The first Minno-Brook conference has having a clearly, they are talking about a change, they are talking about relevance, they are talking about social equity, they are talking about the values. Then what type of changes has to take place in the subject? It was decided. Whereas in Minno-Brook 2 has not given that. So say a simple comparison of Minno-Brook 1 and 2, it is easy to us to understand what exactly happened about. First we will see the similarities between 1 and 2. Number 1, both talk about a concern of the social equity. The social equity, taking care of the marginalized society of the systems, taking care of the minorities, taking care of the issues, it is the same. Number 2, democratic values and the focus on ethics and accountability. The another important aspect is here in the Minno-Brook 2 and 1 comparative is, what is the value of the public administration? The value of the public administration is a democratic value. So that democratic value, the democratic spirit which gives the ethics and the accountability. This is another important aspect. And the another comparison between 1 and 2 is that, what is the centrality of the public administration? Centrality of the public administration to consolidate the state and government, strengthen the society and the government. These are the most important aspect. 1, with a value of a democracy, with a value of a democratic ethics and accountable, we have to strengthen the government and society. That is the central core value of public administration. Another is public servants is seen more conservatives than change agents. Whatever the number 1 group, Minno-Brook 1 said, the second also says that public servants are become conservatives as rather than change agents. This is another important aspect of it. Third, both conferences share the concern of the discipline of public administration. From this subject, from where to where we have to go. What is the main objective, main things of the public administration in the social system? All those who attended the conference of the 1968 was invited to the 1988 as MINOS 1, MINOS 2. A need for a interchange between a generalist and specialist also has taken place. It is not that generalist thing, it is also a various specialist was asked to participate in the conference. Then, what are the important dissimilarities or the differences between the 1 and 2? The previous whatever we have seen between the comparison. Now, what are the dissimilarities? The composition is wider. While previously the most participants has a political science background or the public administration, but Group 2 is belong to different policy sciences, history, economics, urban economics, political science, sociology and law. So comparatively, the domain of the public administration is not only related to the political science, but it is related to other important aspect of the social sciences, is one important aspect. Second, there was an age difference. Group 2 is having a comparatively higher age group rather than the Group 1 is having a below 35 years of the age group, and there is a gender parity, whereas Group 2 is represented by the more women than the Group 1. And however, though both conferences are concentrating of the marginalized sections of the society and the minority groups, in Group 2, the attendance of the minority groups and marginalized sections of the society is less compared with 1. Another important aspect is those who have entered in the discipline in 1960s has the dominant value of public interest, while who entered in the public administration in 1980, they have more emphasis on privatization. This is another important area here because the people who joined before 1960, they have core value of the public administration is different for them. The people who have joined in public administration after 1980, they emphasized and supported the liberalization and the privatization aspect in American society. And again, mood, temper, tone is different compared with Group 1 and 2. One was basically a content-oriented, confrontational and questioning oriented, and it questioned the foundations of the discipline like the politics administrative dichotomy and the public-private similarity. Administration is being a science or art and hierarchical view of organization, etc. Whereas Group 2 is more practical, more civic oriented, more public oriented, respectful to the seniors of the discipline. When we compare 1 and 2, these are the similarities and dissimilarities. So there was another criticism on Group 2 was that it has not visualized the changes which is taking place in the state and government. Though the American government is entering to the managerial model, public management systems has come, it has failed to visualize that governance and practices. More and more restructuring of the government will take place in the coming years. So this Group 2 has, though it welcomed the politics and administrative dichotomy, whereas 1 has countered it. So there are a lot of conceptual debates are taking place in the Group 2, but it has failed to understand, failed to concentrate whatever the things which are happening in the arena of society and the government and the administrative level. This is one of the important criticism on the Group 2 by the various people. So, one tried to solve the problems, whereas Group 2 has tried to hopeful that public administration is going to help the society and do that, not exactly the fixed, these are going to be helpful for the public administration. This is one of the important aspects to understand from the Group 1 and 2. Later part, Group 3 conference held in 2008, where Professor Rosemary Leary of the Syracuse University she actually headed and conducted. The number 1 was taken by the Frank Marini and Dwight Waldo. Number 2 was the George Frederickson, and number 3 is Rosemary and O'Leary, who actually guided and conducted these conferences. The Minnowbrook 3 was conducted into the 2 phases, not in a single phase, they conducted into 2 phases. Phase 1 was conducted as like the old Minnows. They invited only 56 scholars from the different universities based on their writings and contributions. So they invited 56 scholars. Whereas this phase 1 conference, actually as I said, it's 2 parts. The part 1 is going to be with 56 scholars. And this basic purpose of this point is to exchange the knowledge of the current and emerging public service challenges and solutions of the variety of settings. It is not just identifying a problem, only to identify the solutions also which are happening into the society, and to develop a network of scholars and for the future collaboration and the development of the subject of the public administration. Third is, best papers are presented in the Minnowbrook 3 as a specially edited reader for course in schools of public policy and public administration around the world. And they also publish these basic things, Journal of Public Administration Theory and Research, JPAT. They published all these articles as a special volume of the Minnowbrook 3. Near about 20 different articles were published by that journal, which were presented in this conference was published in that journal. So then the outcome of the phase 1 involved summaries and concerned the future discipline, related to the future of the discipline, containing about a dozen of the focal areas, a different type of focal areas they have identified. They include, number 1, the academic practitioner relations, democratic performance management, financial management, globalization and comparative perspectives, information technology and management, law, politics, public administration management, leadership, methods, interdisciplinary areas of leadership, networks, performance management, public administration values and theory, social equity and justice, and transparency accountability. So if you see about these more than a dozen area of the things, one thing is very clear. A student of a public administration can identify that whatever we are doing, nowadays we are talking about a governance and good governance and the globalization impact, measurement of the governance and governance indicators and benchmarks, all these type of things are covered in the 3rd Minnowbrook conference. And the most important one, the phase 1 concentrated on, supported on the comparative studies, which was missing in the 1 and 2. It concentrated, there should be a comparative studies of all over the world. Because now the whole world is becoming increasingly dependent on one another, which has come from the interdependent, it is an interdependent society, interdependent globe nowadays. We are learning from South Korea, we are learning from America, America is learning from South Korea is learning from Japan. You talk of anything. If these type of things are happening is in an interdependent world. We are not independent in the globalized scenario. Hence, the comparative studies are most important, and contribution to this approach is basically more on a curriculum needs. The third major is the 3rd Minnowbrook talks about the curriculum needs. What are the courses taught at America, at India, at other things? What are the needs of the student who is studying of the public administration? How we can measure? And theoretical ranking of the research and the vigorous research methodology. And another important is alternate, as the United States of America is exploring the alternative concepts and context of the various countries, how they are teaching, what type of things they are teaching to the students, what type of, how the graduates are coming from the universities, how they are going to be useful for the society. And these type of things are concentrated. So now we'll see that Minnowbrook 3 of the phase 1 conference actually concentrated, number 1, changing areas of the governance parameters, good governance principles, and the societal needs, along with academic aspects, curriculum areas, comparative studies, vigorous research methodology, and so on. The another important aspect is, again, Minobrook Conference 3's phase 2 was again taken place like in a more an academic conference that we invite various people to attend. Almost about 220 scholars from the 13 countries were attend this phase 2 conference. Phase 1 only the minnows identifying the important things. Phase 2 is going to be discuss about the various areas. Now, there are 4 important areas for. Number 1, global concerns. Conference part 2 of the Minobrook 3 conference has identified global concerns related about global terrorism, global economy, global ecological imbalances, and etc. Number 2 is a participation. This is invited participant from other countries which was missing in the previous conferences, but hence a global approach understanding the public administration and the challenges which are facing in different countries were taken place in this conference. The main focus upon second generation reforms of the functional and structural systems of the administration. Now, the whole world is becoming a globalized, shrinking, flattening world. All the people are going one place to another place, one continent to another continent is moving on. Now, the concentration here, main focus is, there is going to be a lot of structural functional reforms, or we are called second generation reforms, which is taking place in the various countries, what its impact on administration. And another important aspect is, it gives about a raise the old concept of classical school of public administration of EQ, that is economy, efficiency, and effectiveness, which they have taken up in this conference, and they discussed about that part of it. Now, main concerns of the Minobrook 3. 1, academic practitioner relations. Now, so far the academics are different, practitioners are different. No, because they are also practicing public administration, academic schools and academic systems are going to concentrate on there should be a relation between academics and practitioners. Number 2, democratic performance management. Previously we used to talk about the performance management, how to measure, how to do the things, what is the quantification, etc. Now it's in a democratic way, democratic performance management, financial management, globalization and comparative perspectives, country to country area. We have to discuss here one of the important in the comparative perspective. They said, what is the Asian public administration? Now there is a successful majority of the countries, and even in Asia, they are going successfully. Their economic growth is much more higher than almost the double digit. Whether you take about China, and the growth of the South Korea and growth of the Japan is a different altogether. So we have to learn the public administration of that country. That's what they said. Let an Asian group of public administrators study on the Asian public administration systems is 1. Information technology management. ICT has started dominating in this century, and each and everywhere all governments are going on online, administrative systems are online. So information technology management is another important area, how to concentrate. Then leadership. In the changing scenario, how the leadership, how they are playing, what is their role. Instead of a domination, instead of a rule-bound authority, now a teamworks are coming about, virtual organizations are coming about, nuclear organizations are coming about in working on organizational systems. So what is the role of the leadership? And interdisciplinary methods of research. It is not that public administration is doing one, let it be interdisciplinary research has to be conducted, interdisciplinary methods will be taken, networks and performance management is most important. Another important aspect is transparency and accountability. This is one of the important area. Minobrook 3 identified that transparency and accountability. Let the government systems to be transparent, let it be accountable. So further it has identified another important area is studies on minorities, black administrators and their contributions, Chinese people and their contributions, Japanese and their contributions. So like this they have identified the various things, and which is going to help even for Indian public administration to learn from them how to understand about the various types of administrators, various different sections and groups, how they are contributing to the public administration in a country. So dear friends, Now let us review what we have studied in the menu book 1, 2 and 3. So as we stated in the first part of the lesson, the Minnobruk is a place where there is a conference hall, and the conference of the new public administration was conducted in America. The first conference was conducted in the 1968, second in 1988, third in the 2008. The first, second and third are conducted in different type of a societal, political changes are taking place in America. The first conference was conducted questioning the value-free public administration, and ultimately the new public administration one says about let the public administration not be a value neutral, let it be the public value related about it has to be, there should be some value. What is that value? Value is helping the public, value is helping the common man, value is helping the minorities and other marginalized sections of the society. Let public administration has to be relevant because it has to be related with the public. Then second public administration conference, which was held in the 1988, also concentrated about the multidisciplinary approach of the public administration, identified the important things which are coming in public administration. It supported the NPA 1, also identified the new vistas and areas, but also missed some of the important changes which are taking place society at the time. The third Minnobruk conference was conducted after the globalization, which has impacted all part of the world and the globalized world in 2008. It has identified the new important areas that, number one, let it be a more comparative studies, let it be a vigorous research things, let it be the contribution of the black administrators to the America, and let we study the various contributions of the various people into the public administration. We have to concentrate more on theoretical and practical issues, also the curriculum issues of the public administration, how the discipline of the public administration is teaching in the various parts of the world. These are and ultimately, the definition of the public administration, the Minnobruk 3 has changed. It is now the public administration is a networked and depends on a collective relationships, and the public administration's main focus is promoting and flourishing of the human beings in the world. Thank you very much.